Hey all, Tony Bing here. Hello and welcome back to another video for Marvel Strike Force. Now a few days ago on the channel I created a video that was based around the best tier 4 upgrades for the Brotherhood. Now I got quite a lot of good feedback on that video, so what I'll be looking to do is actually do a video covering the Defenders and their best tier 4 upgrades and the Shield team as well. Now when I cover the Defenders, which will be the ones we'll look at in this video today, I'll also have a look at the potential 5th Defender as well. So that could either be Punisher or Miss Marvel. Both can work great in that 5th slot. Now once I've covered all of the 6 characters, what I'll then do is I'll then rank them as well in order of my favourite upgrade to my least favourite here. But let's start off anyway by having a look at Daredevil. So Daredevil does pretty good then in regards to the tier 4 upgrades that are available to him. Now we'll start off by looking at the basic first anyway. This is called Strike Without Fear, so at level 7, and the tooltips I show off will all be the skills maxed out, I should mention, but at level 7 you attack primary target for 270% damage with a 50% chance to bonus attack for 200% damage. If the target is a villain, you always bonus attack as well. Now what's the difference between level 6 and 7 and those valuable tier 4 materials? So you will be losing 30% damage on the primary attack, and you also lose a 10% chance to attack just a regular enemy, and then a 20% chance to actually attack a villain. So for that reason, because you're doing so much damage on the initial attack and the bonus attack as well, I would say this is worthwhile upgrading to give you the 100% chance to do a whopping 470% damage to a villain. It absolutely melts them when you use this on them. Now the next skill we look at, this is the special, which is called Throw Baton. Now counter attack aside, this is a pretty underwhelming skill, this one. So with this, you attack primary target for 200% damage, chain to 2 targets within 2 spaces of previous target for 150% damage, dodge breaks the chain, and you can see the counter that you're adding as well. Now the difference between level 6 and level 7 is only 20% damage and a chance for the chain to change from 1 to 2 up to 2, and it's only 200% damage you're doing anyway. So for that reason I would say this isn't worthwhile. You don't want to use your materials on this one, so keep this one at level 6. We then have the ultimate, which is called Brawl. With this, you attack primary target for a pretty nice 400% damage, and you chain 4 to 6 adjacent targets. So overall, that's between 5 to 7 targets you will be attacking, and you do 240% damage on them, and counter attack breaks the chain. Now this one was a bit tough, but I would say it just scrapes in as being one that you would want to upgrade, because you get an extra 30% damage to the primary target, which is really nice, and the chain at level 6 is actually only 3 to 4 as opposed to 4 to 6, so it can make quite a big difference there. Unfortunately, we're not getting additional damage on the chain, otherwise this would be a no-brainer, but as it stands I would say it's still worthwhile upgrading. For the passive, we have a skill called Enhanced Senses, so not a lot changes with this, but I would say it is worthwhile, this particular one, so you want to take it up to level 5. So with this, Self and Defender allies gain 10% speed. This is applied after any characters taking an action. That's important because it means it won't make you quicker than the likes of Black Widow or Korath, but once a character starts moving, you then get the speed applied to your characters. So with this, the difference is that Defender allies gain 10% speed as opposed to only 5% speed at level 4. Of course you need to be running a full Defenders team to make the most of this. You wouldn't upgrade this if you were running Daredevil on his own, but if you are running a full Defenders team, then definitely max this one out. Now the next character we'll look at is probably my favourite Defender, it's Iron Fist. So Iron Fist can see some pretty awesome gains here with the tier 4 ability mats and maxing out his skills, although that doesn't apply to all of them. Now the first one we look at, this is his basic, so you attack primary target for 250% damage, and you chain to 2 adjacent targets for 130% damage, and counter attack breaks the chain. Now the difference between level 6 and level 7, at level 6 you're doing 210% damage, and it's a chance to chain up to 2 targets, you're not guaranteed to chain to that additional target. The additional chain is nice, but because you're only doing 130% damage maxed out, I would actually say hold off on your materials and keep this one at level 6. We then have the passive. This has got quite a long tooltip, and for any skills that do have a longer tooltip, I'll just really cover what does change here. So this is called Inner Peace, and this is your heal move. You've also got that in your passive, but this is your active heal move. The only difference from level 6 to level 7 is that you heal for an additional 3000 health. It's simply not worthwhile because the majority of your health is coming from the 10% of Iron Fist health as opposed to the flat amount, so definitely don't upgrade this one at all. We then have the ultimate, which is called the Iron Fist. So max out, you attack primary target for a whopping 700% damage. I think this is maybe the highest in the game if you take out multipliers the likes of Ultimus and so on have. And with this you also clear 3 positive effects from the target. Now the difference between level 6 and level 7 is 100% damage, and Iron Fist actually has pretty high base damage if you put him in a defender's team because he gains damage for them. So for that reason I would say it is worthwhile actually upgrading this one. It also takes 5 turns to charge, but with defenders you have energy flying all over the screen, and sometimes you may even get lucky enough to be able to cast this and then in the next turn potentially cast that again if Jessica fires enough energy your way, so definitely max this one out. Now the passive we look at here is probably the most important passive when it comes to building your defender's team for sustain in raids. So this is a passive heal that has a chance to actually activate on turn. It will apply to defenders and also city hero allies as well. It's called Son of Kung Lun. With this, because it's quite a long tooltip, I'll just summarise. The difference between level 4 and level 5 is that you gain an additional 10% chance to heal, so it jumps from 30% up to 40%, and you actually heal for an extra 10% as well, and that applies to defenders and city allies. This one is a no-brainer, and probably spoiling it, but I would say this is very likely the best upgrade you can actually get for the defenders for your tier 4 materials. Now with Iron Fist covered, let's have a look at Jessica Jones. So with Jessica, her upgrades are a little bit on the weaker side, but her skills, even when they aren't fully upgraded, are pretty awesome. Now the basic which we'll look at first, that's Jawbreaker. With this you're attacking primary target for 220% damage, 50% chance to bonus attack 1 to 2 times for 170% damage, and you generate 1 ability energy for a random defender ally. Each attack has a 50% chance to generate 1 ability energy for a random ally as well, and that's what makes the bonus attack nice there, because it does have that 50% chance. The difference between level 6 and level 7 is 20% damage on the primary attack, 10% on the bonus attacks, and you actually lose at level 6 the generating 1 ability energy for a random defender. Now despite that, I don't feel that ability energy is really much of a problem with the defenders due to all the characters that can generate it, so this one I would actually say just keep this at level 6. Now for the special we have Shake It Off, so you clear all negative effects from self and all allies, and you generate ability energy as well. The number of ability energy you generate, which is 4, doesn't change from level 6 to level 7. All that changes is you go from clearing 3 positive effects on allies to clearing all positive effects. So at the moment, although we are starting to get some characters that can add a ton of debuffs, for example Sabretooth and Pyro, I would just hold off in level 6 for this. If we start to see even more debuff characters or ones that can extend debuffs further, then you may wish to fully upgrade this particular one. Now when we look at the ultimate, this is called Rejection, so it's attack primary target for 400% damage and clear all positive effects. The only difference between level 6 and level 7 is 50% damage, which is decent enough, but you go from clearing 3 positive effects to clearing all positive effects. Now this is an ability, when I actually done the in-depth review for Jessica I said keep it at level 6. Low since then I'm going up against the likes of Luke Cage very often in matches, and he has a ton of buffs and I'm only stripping a few of them, so for that reason when I get the materials and I've pumped up the Brotherhood team to the levels I want them to be at, I will very likely upgrade this one to level 7 as well, because it will come in very useful being able to strip all of the buffs, and our high focus gives her an even higher chance of being able to do that. Now the final ability we look at for Jessica is Denial, so with this you gain 40% resistance, defender allies gain 40% resistance, and then additional city allies and other additional allies are gaining resistance as well. Now the difference from level 4 to level 5 is that Jessica gains an additional 10% resistance, and also defenders gain 10% as well there. Now this is a tough one, but it's one I would say energy, hold off on for now. If you find that you're having a lot of debuffs applied to you, or if you're Luke Cage and you're having his buff stripped on a regular basis, then upgrade it, but definitely do a bit of testing first before you use your valuable materials in this one. Now, next character we'll look at will be the last defender, and that's Luke Cage. So Luke then is a pretty awesome tank, however he does without a doubt have the worst upgrades available in regards to your tier 4 materials. Now if we look at his basic first, it is a little bit underwhelming on its own anyway. This is 30% chance to apply assist now to a random hero ally. If the ally is a defender, they also gain a fence up and you attack the primary target for 330% damage. The only difference from level 6 to level 7 is 40% damage, so you'll do 290% damage at level 6 and you retain the assist now and the fence up as well if it's a defender's ally. So for that reason, keep this one at level 6. We then have the special, which is his taunt, which is bring it on, so you gain taunt for 2 turns and 2 regeneration, clear all negative effects himself and apply regeneration to all defenders allies. The difference between level 6 and level 7 is that at level 6 you only clear 2 negative effects from yourself, whereas if you upgrade this you're clearing all negative effects. This is another one that I would say actually run it at level 6 and see how you feel. See if you feel that you're getting a lot of debuffs applied on you and you could do with clearing them all, but I wouldn't upgrade this straight away. Run your teams and see how you got on first with this one. Now for the ultimate, this is Unbreakable, where he applies defense up to everyone. That's for 2 turns and he applies death proof on himself. He's also applying defense up to defenders allies for 2 turns and he generates between 1 to 3 ability energy for random allies. The difference between level 6 and level 7 is pretty pitiful. The difference is that you generate between 1 to 2 ability energy as opposed to 1 to 3. So most definitely do not use your materials in this one. Keep this one at level 6 as well. The final one we have is his passive, which is Power Man. So you gain 5% max health per defender ally, gain 5% armor, and you gain up to 15% max health. The difference between level 4 and level 5 is only 5% health. Personally, I don't feel that's worthwhile at all. If it was maybe 5% health per defender ally, then yes, go for it, but just 5% health on its own, don't feel it's worthwhile. So for Luke Cage, you actually want to keep all his active skills at level 6 and keep his passive at level 4. So if you level him, you can save on your tier 4 ability materials there. Now the next character we'll look at will be the additional slots you can fill in, and that will be Miss Marvel. So with your 5th defender slot, then you can go for survivability through Miss Marvel, you can go for damage with Punisher. I prefer Miss Marvel because I find she is more reliable, as much as you're not chewing through enemies as quickly. Now when we look at her skill, she does okay here. You've got her basic, which is Big Bash, so you attack primary target for 200% damage and you gain deflect as well. Now the difference between level 6 and level 7 is only 20% damage, however I will mention that she is doing a ton of assists, and the damage from an assist does come from the actual damage of the skill and how high you've upgraded it. Despite that, I don't feel this is worthwhile, so I would say keep this one at level 6. We then have her special, which is one of the best heals in the game, if not the best heal in the game. It's Rejuvenate, so you heal self for a whopping 20,000 health and 50% of this character's max health. If health started below 50%, you also gain slow. Now the only difference from level 6 to level 7 is 3,000 health, so you'll be healing for a flat 17,000 health and then you get that 50%. Now all in, it's round about 70,000 health she actually heals for, so it's simply not worthwhile upgrading this for a measly extra 3,000 health. We then have her ultimate next, which is Embiggen, so attack all enemies for 220% damage and a 60% chance to generate 1 ability energy per target hit. Energies granted to random hero allies. With this, the only difference between level 6 and 7 is that you do an additional 20% damage and then you gain an additional 20% chance to generate ability energy, so it's sitting at 200% damage and 40% chance to generate energy. Now with Miss Marvel, I find that the energy is useful of course, however you generally want to use this in the first turn so you can start to charge up again. At that point your other defenders characters don't really need energy, so you're not making the most of it. So this is another one that I would say actually just leave it at level 6. final ability we look at here then for Miss Marvel's Fangirl, and this is awesome. So you gain assist now on each hero brawler ally's turn. On your own turn, you grant assist now to a random hero brawler ally as well. At level 4 you only have an 80% chance to assist now on one of the other characters' turns, and 80% chance to provide assist now on your own turn as well. So this is one that you want to max out. You will definitely see the damage ramping up once you do this. Now the final character we'll look at will be Punisher. So Punisher is the character to go for if you want to put out an insane amount of damage against villain teams. Now if we look at his basic first, this is M4 Carbine. So you attack primary target for 240% damage, 20% piercing, then a low 30% chance to chain up to 2 additional targets for 200% damage, and you do 20% piercing in that as well. Now the difference from level 6 to level 7 is 40% damage to the primary target and also on the chain as well. It's not the best of skills and 40% isn't a huge amount, however, because you will be doing an insane amount of assists via Punisher and the damage you get is based on how high the skill is actually levelled. For that reason you want to max this one out and take this up to level 7. Now the next skill we look at is an underwhelming one. This is Grenade Launcher. So you attack primary target for 200% damage, has some piercing, then you attack adjacent targets for 160% damage with a small amount of piercing as well. The difference between level 6 and level 7 is only 20% damage, so keep this one at level 6. You don't want to go upgrading this at all. We then have the ultimate, which is fully loaded. It's a really nice skill. You attack all enemies for 200% damage and you do 20% piercing. The difference between 6 and 7 is only 30% damage, so again, this is one, although it is a nice skill and the extra damage is welcome against villains, I would actually hold off and just keep this at level 6 unless you're completely swimming in tier 4 materials and you absolutely love Punisher. Now for the passive, this has possibly got one of the longest tooltips in the game, so I'm not going to read it all out, but the difference between level 4 and level 5 is that when you use a non-attack skill, so let's say you use your taunt on Luke Cage, at level 4 you'll have a 50% chance to get an assist from Punisher. At level 5, as long as all your defenders are in the team and they're all still available, then you actually get a 100% chance, and it can really rack up the damage. This can really be incredible there. Also with this as well, I will mention that when Daredevil is attacked, that Punisher counters. When you upgrade it to level 5 you get an additional 40% damage on that attack, so if you place Daredevil next to Luke Cage, he's taking some splash damage, that can work out really nice there. So if you've not already guessed, this is one that you most definitely want to upgrade as well. Now that is all the 6 characters covered, so what I'll do just to finish up the video is quickly list all these abilities that I would say are worthwhile upgrading in order of my most favourite, and then we'll work our way down the list. So here we go. So number 1 spot here, this is the skill that you want to upgrade without a doubt first if you're running a defenders team. It's Iron Fist and his passive for that extra 10% chance to heal and the extra 10% healing that you do as well. If you're running Punisher in the team, I would say he comes in 2nd and 3rd spots for upgrading. Firstly, you want to upgrade the passive to get that 100% chance to assist on non-combat skills, and then following on from that you want to upgrade his basic to get the additional 40% damage, so that will add on to the damage he's doing from his passive as well. If you're running Miss Marvel, go for the passive, and that gives you the 100% chance to assist on hero brawler allies turns and also on her turn. Once you've done them, you would then go for Daredevil. You got that passive, which is a 5% extra speed. Follow up once more on Daredevil for the 30% damage on his basic and the 100% chance for bonus attack on villains. It really is incredible, and as mentioned, it completely melts them. You've then got Jessica Jones and her ultimate. You'll get an additional 50% damage and you'll clear all positive effects, which can be really useful if you're going up against another Luke Cage or even Shield characters, because they can have a ton of buffs on them. We then have Iron Fist. His additional 100% damage on his ultimate is very nice. And then the final one I would say you want to upgrade, it's still nice, but it's the final one, it's Daredevil and his ultimate, where you gain an additional 30% damage on the primary target and then you chain up to an additional 2 targets. It's only really useful in raids, this one. This is the reason it's at bottom of the list, but these are all great upgrades. Now, as always, let me know in the comments below what skills you would upgrade as well, if you agree or disagree with this list, and if you're farming defenders, which you should be doing, let me know how you're getting on, and thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all again soon.